Hi, I'm Trevor Conquergood. Welcome to this week's RNK Software Club's video of the week, and the topic for this week is going to be about digitizing artwork into embroidery. And when I say artwork, what I really mean is a backdrop or a bitmap image. Notice on my screen I've got a picture of the rising sun, and yet in the sequence view there are no shapes. And that's because what I really have on my screen is simply a BMP image. And if I get close to it, you'll see what I'm talking about. It's basically made up of pixels of gray and white and red, and if you get close enough you'll see that there's different shades of pink and red and white and gray. And so basically this is where you need to do the digitizing, right? Somebody's got to convert this into shapes. You could use the pencil, draw them yourself, or you can use the wizard hat and get the software to do it automatically. The wizard hat works great for this kind of clip art image because it's easy to figure out what shapes are, go where. This is the cross stitch wizard, photo stitch wizard, auto artwork wizard, and auto digitizing wizard, and I thought we could just review each one, kind of the steps of it. And so when we click on the cross stitch wizard, the first step is to select or acquire your image. Acquire is kind of a throwback to me. I don't have a scanner anymore, but I think back in the days when we all had scanners, we used the acquire and you could scan right here. The truth is nowadays probably most of us acquire our images through our phones or something like that. But if you did have a scanner, there is still an acquire button. You click select image and you browse around your computer to wherever you've saved your image and you say open. And then the next thing you say is next. So now it tells you all kinds of information, and because we're doing a cross stitch, I have first of all the original size of the image, and you could adjust this bigger or smaller if you wanted the resulting embroidery to be different than I guess the size the image is now. That's coming up in millimeters, but that is because my rulers are set in millimeters, and if your rulers were set in inches, then that would come up in inches. Now the cross size. So the cross size is going to be how big are those crosses, and you can increase or decrease the cross sizes. So again, 2 millimeter cross size. Each cross will get done 2 repeats, so you can do 2, 4, 6 kind of thing. Overlap. So if you want to have a little bit of overlap in between sort of the crosses where they meet each other, each cross, then you can add a bit of overlap to that. But when you say next, the software starts to go to work, and the first thing is it shows you, that it's reduced it down to just like 1 shade of white, 1 shade of red, and 2 shades of gray. And I think I'll just go ahead and get rid of the gray and make it like a red and white image. But this is the stage where you interact with the number of colors in that graphic, and you can basically add them or delete them using this kind of a method here. And then the next thing you do is say next. And it shows you what the image is going to look like now. And at this stage, you kind of get to decide if you want it's detecting white as a background image. And if you wanted that to be sort of filled in with the embroidery, you could check here, and that will tell it to also make the white and not, normally you like to leave out the background, and so it leaves it out automatically, but you can include it like in this image where it seems like it belongs and you get it brought in. Here you could go and use like Microsoft Paint or some sort of a graphic program to edit the image if you weren't getting, I guess, the exact results that you want, because this is an automated thing that once your image goes in, it shows you the crosses that are going to make. And when you say next, you have the option to add outlines around your colors. And so basically, this is where I can check if I want an outline around the color red. If I said next, you would see that it puts a black outline around the color red. If I go back and say outline around red and white, it will outline each color like individually. But if you go back and tell it red and white and uncheck individually, then it will give you an outline around all of the red kind of and white combined area. So this is kind of the process. Once you say next and then say finish, the software creates a cross-stitch design. So that's the way it kind of works. It's an automated process. Cross-stitch will result in stitches. And so if I turn on the 3D mode, you'll notice that the end result, very much the same as using, for example, the photo to stitches tool right here. The cross stitch tool, the end result is individual stitches. And so you have the ability to edit them like any stitch-based design. You can select one stitch, move one stitch, select a group of stitches, delete them, move them, using the stitch tool over here. So that might be a great topic for another sort of one of our weekly videos, is the stitch tool. Anyway, let's go through the wizards. So that's the cross stitch wizard. And I do have a photo. I did stitched out the cross stitch results because I thought it was a great one to show kind of how you can quickly get a nice kind of embroidery result using the wizards. If you kept going, you could do them all the different styles. So the next one is the photo stitch wizard, and this is very different from our new photo to stitches tool. And I think you'll find that the older tool is kind of not nearly as robust, but it's the same kind of idea that you're going to have to click select image and then select your image, and it remembers the last one I selected. So now I can just, if I want to do the same one as last time, I can literally just say next. Again, you can interact with the size of it. Otherwise, when you say next, now it's looking at what kind of process do you want, I guess. And really, you just have two options, black and white and CMYK color. So if I go with black and white and click on generate stitches, you'll see what it's going to look like. It kind of just draws lines back and forth, getting kind of thicker and thinner with the highs and the lows of the design. If you turn it to CMYK, then it actually does click generate, 4 different passes of colors, same kind of concept, getting bigger and smaller to indicate the colors. And so CMYK representing like cyan and magenta and yellow and black. When I say finish, it makes the design. And now we've created a photo process image of the rising sun. Now, it is what it is. I will open up the next one and say, now we have an auto artwork tool. And so with the auto artwork wizard, very similar process. Select the image and then say open and next. And now size, next. Colors, so delete colors. Next. And at this stage, you have a tolerance, kind of like a less or a more. And so less and more is kind of like how strictly shall it trace your outlines, and you can try different results. Here again, if you want to fill in the white as a shape of your design, you can check that off. Otherwise, it's not going to include the white, and you'll just get kind of like the one red color. When I say finish, it'll make that vector. It's taken our bitmap and turned it into a actual shapes now. So unlike before when it just created a bunch of stitches, notice this time I have a red artwork shape and a white artwork shape. I can select that white artwork shape and color it green. So it's now a vector, but it's not been embroidered. It's simply created the artwork shapes. And if you don't like kind of, how some of the shapes finish off and you need to go in and select them and, use the editing tools to reshape them, of course you can always do that if you find some places that are, maybe not exactly perfect. Just go in on shape tool and move the points around until they're perfect. So you can always fuss over your artwork when you use the auto digitizing tools. This is kind of the step. You get quick results with the digitizing, and then you can, finesse it if you don't get exactly what you want. The last step, or the last option, was the auto digitizing option. So very much like auto artwork, it's going to select the image. So I'll look on my desktop for where I've got it and say open. And then next. and you can choose your size here if you want to change the size. Here, the size does kind of matter because it's going to be choosing embroidery stitches for us, and if you're planning on making it bigger or smaller, you should tell the software now so it understands what stitches would be the best ones to choose for the size you want. So you say next, and again, you can reduce numbers of colors of excuse me, if you don't want little gray ones, other extra colors, you can just reduce them. If I haven't said this before, you always have the ability in this color reduction step to click on edit the image, which will actually take you into, like I said, something like Microsoft Paint, where you could work on the image, add to it, change it in any way. And when you close it, it would update, excuse me, I need a drink, in this little window here. And so, again, I'm just going to quickly get rid of the couple of grays so that I have just kind of like a red and white design. Click next. And again, now you've got this ability to adjust the less or more for the vectorization on how well it traces it or whatever that's going to do, as well as if you want to fill in the white, or this time, how about we just leave white omitted, and so you can see how it'll just basically generate the red. When you do auto digitizing, it asks you one last step, which is, what do you want to do about lock stitches and trims, and how do you want to handle the sequencing if there's sort of several colors in your design? So sequencing, it's either maximize for the color changes or minimize the jumps. For lock stitches, never, always, or only around a trim, and then trims are either never, always, or only at a certain distance. When you click finish, it will digitize your design into like a little bit of a one color filled in outline version. I noticed a little bit of a stray stitch in there. Sometimes this is kind of a complex shape to be all one shape and to be filled in. There's actually quite a bit of work for the software. I suspect if we just nudge the stitch direction like a little bit, that it would probably completely fix it, or that's the kind of thing. So yeah, sometimes just moving the starting and ending points is enough to kind of correct something like that. Anyway, that's what auto digitizing is. We started out with essentially a backdrop, a shape, a graphic that has no no shapes, no vector artwork. So like a BMP image or a JPEG, we used our wizard tool to create cross stitch, photo stitch, automatic artwork, or automatic digitizing. If you do automatic artwork, then of course you can select those shapes and not only change their colors, but decide what kind of stitching that they're going to get. And so this is what we call the automatic digitizing wizard. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed the review of the auto digitizing tools. And until next week, bye for now.